Shadow Priests are definitely very popular and fun spec in the World of Warcraft that is really popular among raiders and solo players alike. But how strong is Shadow Priest, freshly leveled alt Shadow Priest, in Horrific Visions as the measuring stick that we are using comparing one class to another on this channel? Let's find out. Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Gyro here. As you have figured out by now, we are talking about Shadow Priest class today, and I have a fresh alt to share with you my impressions of. And we are going to be running a Horrific Vision today, yes, as that measuring stick that I keep referring to, that we are using to determine a solo capacity and ability and power of every class that I happen to have an alt of. So Shadow Priests overall, before we jump into the Horrific Vision, just a couple of kind of high-level notes from me, I suppose. I like Shadow Priests, I like how they play, and I used to play Shadow Priest ages ago in Wrath of the Lich King, I believe, and maybe even after that, possibly after that as well, but not for a while. Seriously enough, like I leveled this out obviously to 110. It was sitting there at 110 until very recent time, until I decided to take it for the spin with Horrific Visions and for the sake of sharing with you on this channel. So I liked Shadow Priests mostly how they play and how annoying they can be in a good sense of the word in PvP. I was never a raider Shadow Priest, so I have raided on other classes, but Priest, to be honest with you, was never one of those. I was never topping DPS meters. I was never one of those people who actually understood the class particularly intricately. All I understood is how annoying mind flay and how defensive dispersion could be in PvP, and I was just basically having fun with it. It was a fun class for me always. It was not a performance class, so to speak. So once again, especially for people who are new on the channel, please do not think that I'm about to criticize a class or tell you something about your favorite class, almost like offending your favorite baby, where I am not particularly qualified to make these judgment calls in your opinion. I am not at a high rating or at a high performance level. I'm not claiming to be. All I'm all I'm judging here, all I'm passing judgment on, as with every other video of mine, is how the class plays as a fresh alt, as very kind of low item level, low cloak rank, and using again Horrific Visions until Shadowlands comes out as that main source of solo entertainment and gear progression that we as casual players can use. That's it. That's your disclaimer. I like Shadow Priests. I like to be self-sufficient though, and I certainly am enjoying the most classes that can pump out damage and can be self-reliant and performant without too much downtime or without too much stress, so to speak. So with that angle in mind, we are going to move on to observing how this Shadow Priest alt performs in a Horrific Vision. So let's take a closer look at the alt then. Tormi is 429 item level, which is very low. There is some corruption, but there are no powerful corruption effects. There is some leech, which is probably good. The cloak is only rank 1, so once again we're looking at that almost pristine case where we're comparing really raw power. There are a few reasonably item leveled items there for a very fresh alt, as I just showed you, the main hand weapon. The Heart of Azeroth and Essences are not leveled anyhow, I only have a couple active, but I did bother to get Purification Protocol, which is very good. And because I was doing LFR and I got some mementos, corrupted mementos from Wing 2, as you can, even without doing much Horrific Visions, in case you didn't know, I was able to add a couple of damage boosting talents, yeah? Because I'm a cow, yes, I kind of get a little bit sick of that large figure of mine on the screen, so I actually am using one of the toys to transfer me into a slightly more compact elf here. That is just as far as commentary on the cosmetics is concerned. What else is there to call out? So yes, Purification Protocol, I think, plays a big role for a Shadow Priest. Yes, Shadow Priest has a capability of being powerful in AoE situations. But as LFR may have shown you, but I don't think there were too many moments captured in this particular segment that I showed you, where priest performs well in AoE situations, and that is when a large group of smaller mobs is engaged and is tanked away from you by the tank naturally. So then you can mind sear the whole group. You get a lot of that opportunity without being bashed on yourself. So you have actually a luxury of having a tank. Let's take a look at the talents. I'm using Shadow Word Void. I'm using Intangibility as a defensive, Dispersion as a heal, and as just not getting bashed on. There are some competitive other talents that people take there. Misery allows me to apply both debuffs, both damage over time effects with one hit. I'm basically, as you can see with these choices of talents, I'm being true to what I normally do and what I normally tell you in my videos about. I try and create configurations that reduce the number of buttons for me to push. Yet I think that this layout still gives me reasonable chances of pumping out damage in single target and in AoE. In this run, I am not feeling confident enough to even try pushing for 2 chests. I am going to be simply seeing how well I clear Cathedral Square, how powerful the class feels in the Cathedral Square area before engaging Illyria, the end boss. So let's take a look at this. So I've done what I could. I obviously get dazed, as we all do, and my damage output, if we don't count Purification Protocol, which right now is doing the heavy lifting on AoE damage on these mobs, my damage output is really nothing to write home about. I'm not even reaching 20,000 DPS on single targets. Obviously, in larger groups, in groups that have multiple mobs, where I'm able to get the mind sear off, I am able to push 20. But again, 20 is like nothing, isn't it? And it's not, trust me, it's not for the lack of trying. You saw that I have not very high item level, plus I'm not a very proficient Shadow Priest. Absolutely no, it is not a criticism of a class at a high level, especially when it's played really well. But at this item level, and with the Cloak Rank that doesn't allow me much time to think about how I'm going to tactically approach and engage these mobs, but where I'm kind of pushed for time a little bit because sanity is draining really, really fast, as you can see. I have only 20% sanity damage reduction, which is really, really not much. I obviously was not particularly impressed with performance that this priest was able to demonstrate to me, even as a player, and how it feels. I do enjoy Shadow Priest when I can stay away. When there is a tank in front of me, I can mind sear larger groups, I can mind flay and debuff individual targets, I can disperse and float away if it's PvP. I enjoy those moments, and I think Shadow Priest shines in those scenarios. But in a scenario where everything starts coming directly to you and you need to either masterfully kite them somehow, constantly running around, or they all start bashing on you instantaneously. Like these mobs were easy, but there are much harder mobs, especially as you've seen plenty of my videos, you know what it's like going further into the vision. I really did not feel any power, anything to write home about the Shadow Priest, I'll be honest with you. Um, any other particular insights? I have seen several, 2 or 3 relatively popular, judging by the number of views that they've received, videos on YouTube where people are showcasing how they've done successful clears even with masks and stuff like that on Shadow Priests of Horrific Visions. But once again, as I point out to people, and my regulars know it, I apologize to them for being kind of a bit of a broken record here, but for the new guys, it's not an excuse, it's just to point out an important thing that you might be missing. Those videos are made by people who have characters, Shadow Priests, that they play regularly. First of all, they are a lot more skilled, and second of all, they are at least in item level 465 or even pushing for 70. This cow, yeah, has a item level of 429, with also evidently self-confessed no particular tremendous skill attached to it. Why I still enjoyed this experiment and why I was happy to bring this to you guys, even though it's not particularly inspiring you to play a Shadow Priest or whatever, but we can't always have only positive results, can we? Let's just be fair. So speaking about fair, what I enjoyed is the fact that we are comparing other classes. Similarly, I am also not crazy proficient with them either. Yet some of them at least, are really impressive, really fun, are really something that I would recommend for you to play. Shadow Priest was really a meh. I don't want to offend you once again. I said plenty of disclaimer things. I hope you're with me on this. And I welcome your feedback as well, as I always do, and comments down below in terms of you saw my talents. Maybe in your experience, you see something that's evidently standing out to you that I am doing clearly wrong. Tell me. Tell me. I'm an altoholic. I love playing different classes. And I'm not saying that once I've published this video, I will never touch Shadow Priest again. It wasn't crazy fun for me. I am planning to move on to other classes, to reviewing other classes, or push even a little bit further on other classes, say Enhancement Shaman, which I still enjoy a lot, like how it feels. And with better gear, the more enjoyable it is. I still have my mage that I'm also not crazy proficient with, but mage feels better than this priest. Better. Not as crazy strong as Enhancement Shaman, Demon Hunter, Death Knight, but better than this. So I do have plans, and I'm going to be bringing more of these videos to you as I always have. But at the same time, if you have advice on Shadow Priest, please don't stop yourselves. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. What did you get out of this video? Was it somewhat insightful to you? I always welcome your feedback. Subscribe if you haven't already. Really appreciate your support. We will take a look at the loot right now, which is not going to be too plentiful or much to write home about. It's only one boss we killed. Um, but these are my initial impressions of a fresh alt, lowly geared alt, a Shadow Priest alt. And please stay tuned to the channel, and I will see you next time, and I'll bring more videos to you in a couple of days' time.